Welcome back. In this video, we are going to implement the functionality of cards. So pretty much the overview, the UI, and all those kind of information about a card. And of course, we will later on need to give it a lot of functionality as well. So for example, we can assign a member to the card. We can add a due date to the card and so forth. All right. So we are going to keep it simple. We're just going to have 3 features for now. But those things will be good enough for you to start, and you can easily extend that card now that you know how to do that, right? So let's get started with the first thing first, which means we need to create the activity for it. We need to create the UI for it and so forth. All right, so let's get started. So the first thing that we need to do is we need to create a new activity. So let's go over to our activities here and create a new activity called cards details activity or card details activity. So here activities, empty activity is gonna be card details activity. All right. Okay, so first of all, let's import R here so that we can use it. And then let's go over to the card details activity XML file. So here I'm going to use prepared code. You can of course download it if you want to, and let's have a look at what we have in here. By the way, we also need to update our dimensions file, so the dimensions file. You can of course go ahead and just download the latest dimensions file and this XML file if you don't want to type it in, because I think at this point we are way past creating UI elements in XML step by step. And by the way, you can of course create it the way you want it, right? So you can create your very own layout if you don't like the one that I'm using. So here in the dimensions file, I'm going to create a bunch of new dimensions, which you can find here: card details, content padding, CV card name margin, then content padding for the card view and so forth. All right, so we're using card views once again. Now let's go over to the card details and let's see what else we're missing, because we're still missing some variables. Okay, so we're missing strings here, for example. So let's get those strings in as well, because we want to keep this application as flexible as possible. So you can see we have label color, select members, due date, and select due date. Okay, now let's look at the XML file, because now we shouldn't have any errors. So what we have here is, let's look at the design first. All right, so here we have first of all a toolbar. Then we have a card in which we have the name of the card, which means an edit text in which we can then also edit the name of the card. Then we have another card here underneath it, which has the label color, which we can then select. So we can select the color for this card. Then we have the members, which are assigned to it. We can also select members. Then we have the due date, and we can select the due date. And finally, we have this update button. All right, so these are the things that I want to display in a card. Of course, you could add a lot more here. You could add notes that people can add. You can add even files that people could upload to a card and edit. So there's a lot to potentially adjust and add here if you want to make this a fully fledged and complete project management tool. All right, but I think at that point you should be able to learn how to get these things done. I mean, you would have to of course check out how to even upload something to Firebase and all of those kind of things. So not just images, but real files. So how to select a file from your phone and so forth. But overall, in general, when you want to create an application, you will have to research quite a bit, and you will have to find the right features, find the right third-party libraries to use, and so forth. But we're going to start with what you can see here. So let's look at the code real quick. So here, what we have is a linear layout, which is vertical. Inside of that, we have an app bar layout, which contains this toolbar, which is basically this toolbar here at the top. Then we have a linear layout, which is again vertical, in which we have 2 card views. So first of all, this card view, which contains the edit text, and then another card view, which contains all of the other elements. So this one here is card view 1. This one here at the top, and then another card view here at the bottom, because I just think card views look pretty cool. Then we have the text input layout, which is this app compat to edit text, in which we can enter the card detail name. Then further down we have another card view with a linear layout. That's the second card view, right? In which we then have the text view 1, text view 2. So it's those two. First of all, it's this label color. Then it's the select color. Then it's the text view here, which says members, and then we can select members. And then the text view, which says due date, and we can select the due date. So these are not buttons, but they are text views as we use them here. So if you wanted, you could of course use buttons for this, but I think text views are totally fine because we need to open something up once we click on that anyways, right? So it's not like we are going to select it here directly, but we can then see, for example, the selected color, then we can click on it and change it, or we can see the selected members and then we can click on it and we can add more members to it and so forth. All right, and then finally we have this update button, which basically just should allow us to update the whole card. All right, so now let's go over to our task list activity. And here I'm just going to create a new function, which I'm gonna call card details. And here I need to pass in the task list position, which should be an integer, and then the card position, which will also be an integer. So what do I want to do in here? Well, I just want to start an activity which will create an intent or use this intent that we use here. So we go from this activity over to our card details activity. All right, and that's it, what this method does. So by the way, task list position and card position, let's look at those real quick, because if we look at our cards here, you can see that a card has a position and it's inside of the list. So the list also has a position. So this is position 0 for list 1, so the first entry. Then if we create another list, that will be position 1, so to speak, and so forth. All right, so we need to know in which list we are, and then we need to know which card we're looking at, because we want to load details about this specific card, right, and not about any card. All right, so this is the card details function. Then we need to give every single card an on-click event so that we can click on it, because currently nothing happens when we click on it. So let's go over to our card list items adapter. So here we need to go to the adapters, because in the adapter, that's where we handle how the card list behaves, right? So here inside of this card list item adapter, inside of our onBind view holder, here, that's where we assign the cards, right? So here we just say, okay, card should be model name. So whatever the card name is, we want to have that in here. And now at this point, we can also give every single card an on-click event. Okay, so inside of this if statement, we just say holder.itemView.setOnClickListener. And here, what do we want to do? Well, first of all, we should check if the on-click listener is not null. And this on-click listener is, of course, the class that we created, this interface, to be more precise. And here, we're just going to say on-click listener on-click. So we just call the on-click event with the position of the card. And the position comes from the onBind view holder function itself, because here you can see we get the position passed here. Okay, so we pass in the position to the onClick function. And then you can see that it's still complaining, because if we look at onClick, we can see that onClick also requires a card. So we have two options. Either we pass in the card directly here, or we can just get rid of the card here, because we can just pass in the position for now. And then once we click on it, the onClick event will be called, the position will be passed. And now we can go to the task list items adapter. And here we can give this adapter an on-click listener as well. And this one, of course, also in the same function, in the onBind viewHolder function. All right, so here, a little further down, pretty much towards the end of this function here. So we scroll all the way down, we have all of these holder, and then we have this adapter. And here we can then go ahead and say adapter dot set on-click listener. So we give this adapter an on-click listener in which we create a new object of the card list items adapter. All right, so what we're just saying is we want to use this on-click listener, which we set here. To be more precise, we want this to happen once we click on one of those items, and here we need to set the on-click listener to, this should be an object of the card list items adapter. So here we just use the on-click listener, and this should be a new object. So here we need to use the colon, so the on-click listener, and here we override the on-click event. Okay, so we basically override the on-click event of this on-click listener, which we use in here. So we pass in the position, and now if that is called, this on-click event will be called, and here we can check if the context is the task list activity. So context is task list activity. Then I want to run context.card details with the position that I have and the card position, which is going to be the card position. Okay, so where does card position come from? Well, card position is this actual position here. So this can be a little bit confusing, but let's look at it. So we pass in the card position from the card list items adapter. But in this function itself, so if we scroll all the way up here, we can see that the onBind viewHolder already gives us a position. Okay, so this is the position of the task list. And now, once we are inside of the task list, we have this additional on-click listener, which we create an object of, right? Of this on-click listener interface that we have in our card list items adapter, which is this on-click listener interface. We override the on-click event in which we get a position, and we get the position when clicking on the holder. So the card position is the one that we get from the card list items adapter, and the position, which means in this case, if we look at the card details, is the task list position. We get this task list position from the task list items adapter onBind viewHolder. So from this one here. So this one, if we wanted to make it more clear, we could call this one list position, but basically it's default to call it position, right? So we can just keep it like that. So then with this here, we get the position here. We get the position of the task list, and then we get the position of the card. Which means if we look at that here, we can see, let's say I create another list here, list 2. So let me create that. Now I have this list 2, and inside of list 2, let's say I have card 1. So now I have card 1 in list 2 and card 1 in list 1. So this card 1 is not going to be the same as this one. This one will have the list 1 list position, and here card 1 card position. This one here will have the list 2 list position and the card 1 list position. So it's here, for example, 2 1. This one is 1 1. Okay, even though the numbers don't really fit, but that's basically how you could interpret it. All right, and at that point we can just test the application and see if this card details activity is even opening up. All right, so there we are, ProJMenage. Let's go to the board with image, and now let's click on card, and you can see it opens up here. So here we have an edit text. Now we of course want to populate this edit text with the card name. So here it should be called card 1. And then we of course want to be able to adjust it. Now what you can also see is we have 2 bars here at the top, which I don't like. So let's go to our project, manifest file, and make changes here of course as well. So I'm just gonna use the same approach for this activity as well here. So let's add those 2 lines to the activity here at the top and run it again just to see if that took effect. So there we are, board with image. Let's click on a card and we can see now only our app bar that we have defined ourselves is there. Okay, so I'd say let's look more into this card in the next video.